down to this deep state map that we have right here. So we knew for a while now Ukraine was looking on how to deal with the Russian forces in this part of the area. The first plan was that they were able to advance further and then essentially cut this part out from the Russian control and encircle and make sure that they get surrendered. But not everything worked out to the plan because the concentration of the Russian forces in this area is quite large. But Ukrainians continued with the attrition warfare, and we were not expecting any kind of major breakthrough. But we got pleasantly surprised yesterday when we got notification that Khrushchevka, Shevchenkivka, and Zolota Balka had been liberated. This came as a big surprise, as this is a significant achievement in the Kherson Oblast. And while I usually don't cover the situation change when it's like a single village has been taken or liberated, because a village going here or there doesn't really matter. What matters is if the situation changes importantly. And it indeed happened, because after that we got notification that Ukrainians are actually advancing further down the road to Duchane. And Duchane is actually quite an important part of the settlement. As it later turned out, the front line moved approximately to this area here, and this breakthrough in one day was about 10 to 12 kilometers deep. Right now, as far as I'm aware, there is fighting in Duchane and around it, so the city is still in a gray zone. But what this makes essentially is now that Ukrainian forces advancing so deep, they are having some of the Russian flanks exposed. So from now on, Ukrainians can actually go and attack the Russian forces from the side. This can easily collapse the Russian groupings around here. Already yesterday we saw with a lot of panic, and Ukrainians used it to secure Arkhangelsk. So now the control over Arkhangelsk. What we should expect right now is maybe Russians would consider if they should maybe retreat from some of these forward areas because they do not have really good connections. Additionally, we have news that the attack towards Davidov Brid is happening and towards Chkalove. So Ukrainians are continuing to put pressure on the Russians and maybe see if they will break. So we'll see how the situation will develop, but this is a major change in this area, and if the situation develops favorably for Ukrainians, obviously the target that they would like to get is towards the Novokakhovka, but in between the city that we should be aware of is Berislav. That is kind of the gateway to Novokakhovka. That is Kherson area, so extremely good news, very significant knowing how big the concentration of forces are in Kherson area. But more importantly, Ukrainians are continuing their advance on the eastern flank. So we talked a little bit last time about Borova, and that Ukrainians most probably will not attack Borova, and they will instead kind of try to flank. And that's exactly what happened. We got news today that Ukrainian forces essentially entered Borova with some proofs that there is video proofs that Ukrainians entered villages just to the east of Borova. Most likely that Russian troops understood what was happening and they decided to pull out. So Ukrainians just took over this part of the land with little to no fighting, which is obviously great. So fighting is still continuing with Ukrainians trying to advance. Most probably this was the forces that were defending the line, so the Russian troop forces can retreat from Borova direction. But slowly but surely Ukrainians are getting to this second defensive line from Svatove to Kreminna and so on. So far we know that Ukrainians are already taking over this part of the area that was previously controlled by the Russians, and they are preparing the siege of Kreminna. We should expect that the roads should be cut from both sides. We already have seen reports that Ukrainians are advancing in the direction of Lysychansk, essentially somewhere here. And we're going to be looking where the Ukrainians will cut this road, which is towards the southeast of Kreminna, which is here. And then more importantly, there is already reports from the Russian troop that this road is not under full control. Ukrainian forward spearhead troops that are light cavalry, so I call them, they're driving on their Humvees with machine guns, are already having some control over this road. So this road is not safe for Russians. More importantly, this line is not going to be as defensible for the Russians as it was around Liman, because Liman was a very narrow bottleneck where Russians could concentrate a lot of the force. It is not the same here. There is quite a lot of options for Ukrainians open on how they want to approach Svatove or Kreminna. So they can go around, they can move forward, just passing it and then sieging it with main force. There are options for Ukraine. So we should not expect that the Russians will be able to hold this line quite as strongly as they held towards Lima. So that means that the tempo that Ukrainians are having is extremely high. They are advancing forward, and we can expect the battle for Svatove to come very, very soon. Moreover, we have reports from Kremlin that the regular Russian forces are being pulled out. And the best explanation for it that I've heard that I think makes sense is that Russian command is hoping to preserve as much as